Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. And joining me from the Fateless team is going to be Dirk from Game Design. And then we've got a couple special guests in Broken and Sneakyy. So, Broken, first time on the channel, go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of let people know everything about you.
All right, guys, I'm Broken. I'm from the channel Broken Not Bad, Godforge Edition. I have over 40 years of gaming. uh, start with Atari Pac-Man, evolved to dungeon crawlers on the PC, NES. Then MMO hit, and I was in Ultima Online, Anarchy Online, Star Wars Galaxies, pretty much every game. And now taking a look at Godforge that seems to be trying to change things a little bit, and I love it.
Very nice. Ultima Online. Now that's a 90s reference right there. Was that the first like online MMO? Ultima?
I
That
think so,
was the first one considered an MMO. They had some MMOs as per se, but you could only have like a couple of dozen people before that. But the massive multiplayer actually got coined at Ultima Online.
Yeah, and that would have been what, like 98, 99, somewhere around there?
97.
Oh, okay.
97.
Okay. Very nice. Cool. Awesome gaming history there. And then Sneakyy, nice to see you again.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say I'm sound like a baby because I was born in '94, so I was only literally a bambino when that was happening. Yes, I'm doing good though. I've just been grinding through content and gaming as we all do on our channels, waiting for this month, basically next month to come, which is the test. So I've been pushing and grinding through. So yeah, looking forward to this podcast, and thanks for having me on again.
Nice. And are you doing I was trying to look for a little bit. Are you doing like the city builder type games and some of that content type stuff?
Yeah, so I cover mainly city building games at the moment. I do play obviously other games, but on my channel it's mainly mobile city mobile building games. So Age of Empires Mobile is what I cover at the moment. I've done Call of Dragons, I've played Rise of Kingdoms, Affinity Kingdoms, State of Survival, March of Empire. You name it, I've probably played it at some point. I just like the genre of kind of, it's similar to like Raid and Godforge in the build up your account over time, and then you have this progression, this journey throughout it all. So yeah, but I've been enjoying it so far.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm a big Age of Empires 4 player. How has the Age of Empires mobile game done? Just as a side, question personally, has it been good or well received or successful or?
So this is going to be funny because it's kind of gonna go into today's talking points of things what not to do, right? Because Age of Empires 4 and Age of Empires as an IP really loved, everyone loves it, but when you play the mobile game, it really doesn't translate one to one. Like it really feels a bit more egregious, what they've gone for, a little bit more predatory as well when it comes to monetization of that game compared to a lot of other games. And people are saying maybe it's because of the IP they've taken it from. So it's kind of sad, but at the same time, like I enjoy these games anyway. So it's kind of, I'm in this weird catch-22 situation almost.
Okay, cool. That's good. We'll get into that when you guys are doing your questions. And then Dirk, good to see you again here on the channel. How's things been going over there on the game design side?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to get everything in it for alpha. We're sneaking our way past pencils down into further the midnight oil, but no, it's looking good. I'm actually very excited for people to see this now. I guess I was talking about it today in the meeting. We finally got to the point where it's like just satisfying to watch. It's one of the things I love in mobile games, honestly, that I didn't think I would. Is when you get everything set up perfect and just like hit and play and watching it go through on auto and just seeing everything in fast motion, just flying around, but it just works and just looks good and it's looking like cathartic about it. And like, I think I finally hit that. At least I find it very satisfying. Sham agreed like yesterday. So it's like, we found it. It's like the chef's kiss. So yeah, I'm so excited. And I was like perfect timing because everyone else can see this pretty soon. So yeah, that's how things are going.
Cool, awesome. Well then, I guess let's dive into some of these topics here and some of these questions that you guys had. I guess we'll start with Broken, first time guest. Did you have anything you wanted to throw out there as a question or a topic?
All right, so you guys, I saw everything from the beginning. What do you feel like you guys are able to do, being, Faithless can do that bigger studios are not able to?
Yeah, I think coming from our perspective of being very community focused, I think we're able to be a little bit more transparent than some of the bigger studios that are going to be more guarded and kind of keep things behind the veil and then wait until they can kind of talk about everything. So it's kind of cool. We have like how many studios that are large are going to have their CEOs in Discord hanging out and chatting with people and stuff. So things like that are going to be very unique to Fateless because we're going to be, a little bit broader than like an indie dev, but, not quite to the scale of something like Microsoft or something. So we can kind of hit that good middle ground where we've got the capabilities and the powers to produce something epic like Godforge, but yet still have that feel of being able to interact with the community on a smaller scale. I don't know, Dirk, if you had anything to add, go ahead.
Yeah, kind of in that same vein, like I say they give you Simon and Stream, and like a lot of for a bigger like published I guess studio or game, you would expect like, okay, if there's any sort of leak, that was probably like an intentional marketing ploy. Like, this info leaked, and like, that's a marketing campaign they spent a ton on. When we get a leak, it's because someone just we're talking about something in a podcast or like Simon is streaming. So that's always like a fun way for information to come out organically, which that's the point of it. But then also something that you definitely can't get punished or published with is starting a company with a bunch of, I don't want to say like amateurs, but like aspiring game I guess game developers. And because our studio is very mixed now. We have a lot of like this extreme talent and experience in the company, but we do have a lot of like fresh takes here. Like Paul has been like a massive step up, right? He's never worked in a game project before, and I was like running the show. So it's like that would never happen if this game was published, right? It would be very safe. So we were able to take a lot of risks in that and try new stuff with both staff and then like the tools we're building too. Like we've built a really incredible tool just for implementing heroes in Unity that that in itself could be its own product. And we've had the freedom to do it because it's one of the things that we want to do as a company, and it's not necessarily focused on like the game, but in the long term it'd be better for us. So yeah, just risks like that.
Very nice. Did you have a follow up to that, or we can toss it on over to Sneakyy if you had anything?
Can I just make one quick mention?
Yeah.
By the way, I saw the last podcast, and one thing I have to say, Aaron, love you, man. He actually worked on the IPs and games that I played for years. So he worked on Ultima, he worked on Star Wars Galaxies, and I was so excited when I heard that on the last podcast.
I will make sure that he sees this then.
Very
Cool.
excited.
Sneakyy, did you
I
have
know Aaron
anything?
worked on Ultima. How long did you play Ultima Online for, I guess, as a quick aside?
Oh yeah.
Ultima Online I only played for like a couple of years because at the time balancing was bad on those type of games. It was new, it was like the Wild West. So I started later than a lot of people, so pretty much like walking out of town meant I was dead. But I did play the Ultima series, like Ultima Underground 1 and 2, all those games for PC back in the day. So yeah, always loved Ultima.
Yeah, that was
it's-
the early days. Go ahead. Dirk.
Yeah, oh yeah, way back. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's surprising. We have one of our producers also had worked on some of the Ultima games in the past too. So we have a lot of, like I said, just like a deep well of experience from like some games that are really close to a lot of our childhoods or early adulthood. So
Yeah, and then back in the mid 90s, like balancing and live ops wasn't a thing. Like if the game shipped and something was broken, well, I guess it's just broken.
yeah, it's just how it is. That's
yeah.
just what Akuma does, or like in Ultima Online. So I think some of the spells seemed ridiculous, like Mind Blast and whatnot. Like when I started playing a mage, it just felt like this is cheating. Like, I don't know. How did you ever play? Just be the idiot with the sword. I'm like, what? So, but yeah, I mean, that's how the game is. Of course, obviously, magic beats sword. Duh. Like what?
Well, even in like Diablo 1, like you play the sorcerer, and in Diablo 2, you play the sorceress. Like it's just it was more. It's always more powerful back then. But yeah, go ahead, Sneakyy, if you had anything to jump in there with.
Yeah, no, mine was more talking about asking you mainly because I see on the podcast a lot of the time you ask, questions what you guys want to do, right? You want to have a certain style of PvP that's different to obviously other games. You want to do so forth, right? And one thing I don't think that gets talked enough about is what you guys don't want to do. And one topic I thought you guys did a really good highlight on was nerfing heroes. And you said you didn't want to like nerf generally like an individual hero. If you could somehow like just buff up heroes, that seems like a really good bold strategy of, you know, go in that direction. So I'm just wondering, is there any other reasons or, you know, things in that regards to what you wouldn't want to do when it comes to Godforge compared to other games?
Yeah, Dirk, you can go ahead if you want.
Yeah, that's it's funny you mentioned like the buffing up heroes. That's I know something we've talked about in the past, and something we still hold true is like you never want to nerf in these kind of games, but since to that point you're talking about like older games feeling broken, it's something that I noticed a lot of games is in general. Older games felt more fun a lot of times because of that broken stuff. Like sometimes it's very satisfying to press the button and feel like you're cheating, as long as it doesn't feel like more, I guess, miserable to be on the receiving end of that. But yeah, if anytime someone feels strong, you shouldn't nerf that out of the game. You should just try to make other characters feel exciting in their own way. So that's definitely going to be like the balanced strat going forward. Like, you know, owing to those old style games. But I guess as far as like beyond the bread, you can
It's a good philosophy to have because especially in a game like Godforge, people are going to be investing a lot of time and resources from their account and sometimes financial resources into acquiring a hero or a build or building a team. And so if you imagine, we've all been gamers before and we all know what that's like. You invest in something and you build this team and you're finally able to click auto and everything works great. What? A patch? They're nerfing 3 of my heroes. Are you kidding me? That's now just full disclosure, there is going to be times early, like alpha and beta and even after live, where we're like gathering our bearings as a game. And there might be something that's just like 10 times stronger than anything else. And we will have to adjust it and fix it. But
yeah, that's something to point out for this alpha coming up. And if we're taking in it, don't expect any sort of balance going in. I mean, honestly, any sort. Like it's like in theory, like this seems like this would be good, but when you actually go into like, you guys are the first round of
I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Like the big thing, like we wanted to make sure we don't have in the game something that feels like miserable to go against, or something just like literally broken. Isn't like, oh, look, I can do this infinitely. Obviously, that's got to go. But yeah, we'll be catching a lot of that. And this, the main thing we've been talking about too is just make sure everything feels fun. Like there's a lot of moves right now visually that are very satisfying to do that need to be like, I don't know, feel that way like the actual game impact. Like Hell is one of those ones we were talking about recently. Like we use that core ability, like the roots get you and stuff. Like you're like, yeah, this movie needs to just feel better. It just looks too cool. And there's actually a few, Brad, we need you to go through again and add some damage to, because we got some VFX right now that like someone will do something and it looks like you're annihilating the universe, and it's just like you're buffing the team. We're like,
it's funny. We have a good blend. If people would like a peek behind the veil, we have a good blend in our team because I like to play it safe and like let's not get too crazy here for like alpha. Dirk likes to like, oh, let's put a 12x multiplier. Let's get crazy, like, and so we have a good. And then Paul has to like sit here as a mediator, like, okay, well, let's actually put it here. so we have a good
team
dynamic there.
We're Team Dirk here now. Okay, Carnival of Chaos, please. Carnival of Chaos. That's what we all want.
My thing is like, if they look cool, they need to like meet your expectations. So that's why I was saying like with Hell, she looks so cool. I'm like, this girl needs to really like. If we see her, you expect big things. So I'm gonna give you big things.
Well, on the topic of balance, one thing I'd like to pass it to you guys to ask is, would players prefer like less often changes that are more impactful or more often balancing that is less impactful to try and like tweak? Because I've seen it both ways. I've seen some established games where, they'll have like a certain hero that's really strong, let's say in like Clash Royale. Like, one tank just has way too much hit points and it's strong in the meta. They'll come out with like a quick tweak patch and they'll say like, a 4% HP nerf. And then people in the community will be like, are you kidding me? This is stupid. No one's going to even notice 4%. But from the game developer standpoint, they're probably thinking like, okay, let's just like let's not nerf it into the ground. Let's micro adjust it. And I've seen kind of both sides of that argument, saying it's like stupid to do these small tweaks that no one can even notice. But if you go too far and you do big changes, well, now you just nerfed it into the ground. Now it's worthless. So I'll let you guys kind of take that over if you have any sort of perspective on that.
I do think that tweaking is better. Because if we look at gaming history, Star Wars Galaxies, one of the major things that completely destroyed the game was they had a major change in the game. They pretty much revamped the whole game, and the whole population just laughed. And I've seen that a lot of times. When you do small tweaks, and most of you don't fully feel, you can adjust slower instead of there's a huge tweak, and now everything I have my champions is just garbage. Everything I had leveled is worthless. Now I have to work in something else, and that takes resources. It takes a lot of time. When it's a small tweak, you just adjust as you need to. So
They've like completely changed their game though, like you're saying. In that case, yeah. All of a sudden, it went from being, it almost kind of felt like a more modern, and it was still old by this metric, but a modern UO, where it felt like a Wild West. You're kind of going out exploring, just finding stuff to do, and there's nothing was structured. And then they like tried to make it more like a modern MMO. Like, you go on your Jedi quest, and then everything else you did is completely pointless now. And we definitely won't be redoing our game at any point. That's certainly a not what not to do that we'll adhere to.
We already did once. We already did redo our game once.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was about to
We were in the
say that.
drawing board back then, like literally, like drawing on.
Man,
Yeah.
I spent months waiting for Obi-Wan, just sit in a spot for Obi-Wan to show up, and then went through the trials that also, like, everything taking months, and then I stopped playing the game for a few months. I came back, was like, hey, do you want to be a Jedi right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that feeling. Going into that point, no leaking, talking about patches as you asked, Brad. On my end, it depends on obviously the game you played, right? Because you can play something like League of Legends, which has those fast-paced kind of patches, and it does change the meta, right? And sometimes, like myself, you might not like that because your favorite hero gets nerfed, and you're like, wait, they've done it just gone good again. But then you can get other games that do these like big patches in one go, and it does feel like you're playing a completely different game when those occur, because they're such drastic changes that it is impacting the roster. Maybe there's a new mechanic involved, there's new events, and they're really interested because every time one of those come, you might not like maybe the balance inside that's happened, but the fact that it's almost like partnered with some new content, it's like, do you know what? I might not like the buffs or the nerfs, but at least this content might actually be really cool to test out. So I think it depends on what Godforge's route is going to be. Like, are you trying to make it so it's like a Hearthstone game where you can see these patch notes come out where the mana fixes or the cards, power is too strong, so they're just tweaking it really quickly? Or you're going to wait for that 6-week or 2-month period to then blast it all in one go and address it in one? So for me, I would like Godforge to go to the B section if it was me, but we'll see how you guys go and approach it.
Well, the realistic thing is, because we aren't a giant AAA studio, having anything fast or like on a very tight regular schedule, probably like an unnecessary amount of stress for us in that sense. So I wouldn't expect like a regular, like, oh, this is our bi-monthly, patch going, or bi-weekly. Like, also, me personally, I like for anything to be competitive, it's fun to have meta shakeups, but I hate when they happen too frequently before the meta's like solved, because sometimes like it takes like, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't even take like a year. Like, you see this in a lot of like old fighting games too, where it's like new tech will come out like 12 years later that completely changes the meta. And like, I hate when that is never allowed to, like, I don't know, kind of just naturally develop, where it's just like, all right, we're bored, it's been 3 weeks, shake it up, and then you just change it. So what our plan is, instead of doing balance patches to try to shake the meta up regularly, we want to have that kind of built into the game modes that have a meta. Like in PvP, like we talked about having like the pits of hell and stuff, where it's like every cycle or season, whatever you want to call it, different heroes will kind of, receive like boons or like nerfs in a sense, but it's like unique to that season. So that way you don't have to like, you can still get meta shakeups in that mode if the meta feels stale to you, but I still want there to be like a core, like serious PvP mode where it's like, you are the meta, like you're gonna really let this solve before we're gonna try to step in there.
Yeah, because I can get what you say, because you don't want to be like, for example, I don't want to say, but like TFT, because I love kind of playing TFT, but there's so many seasons that honestly have so many patch notes in between, and there's like a mid-season patch as well, which gives you even more stuff, and it just keeps shaking it up on a drastic scale. Like
Yeah,
it just feels like, what's going on?
I'm not saying that we're gonna be like an esport, but like if you look at like those kind of games, the worst is like they'll start like a season that usually culminates in like a giant tournament, and like by the end of that season, they're not even playing the same game anymore. It's like the teams that might have been the best in the beginning are all of a sudden just like mid tier by the end, because it's like, well, these strats don't favor us anymore, and I guess they're just like pulling like numbers out of a hat here, just like, oh, this week this is how the game works, and no, that, like I said, you can't have any sort of like serious competitive environment where things change that often. So I want definitely, I'm pushing personally to have like a core, like PvP mode where it's like very serious, sweaty, try hard. I know a lot of people that play these games, and even on our own team, just aren't that person. So it's just fine, and that's why we also want to have this like highly rewarded. I don't want to say it's like how Hearthstone did it with having like the standard arena, and then like what do they call like their
The
like
wild,
the tavern
right?
brawls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like they won't be as like wacky as a tavern brawls, but they'll have like their own contained, changes to heroes just to make the meta move around. So
Yeah,
we just want to have like both flavors of that.
Yeah, we were kicking around ideas. Nothing's final, but like having like a gates of heaven and a pits of hell, where like certain heroes are buffed a little, certain heroes are nerfed a little
Yeah.
bit, and trying to kind of like micro adjust for like fun little seasonal or event type content. Yeah.
And then working in ways too of like, I mean, obviously everyone like Hearthstone Arena where you're kind of building your deck at the start, and you're obviously that meta. I mean, even that meta kind of gets solved, but there's a randomness of it. You don't always get the right cards, so you have to pick the best. So we do want to have a mode that also utilizes that as well, where it's like you just want to get a fresh run in to see how it goes. Like we definitely want to cater to that player as well. So yeah, I think that's enough to keep it fresh to where you get to have that stale meta as well that really gets to like, I don't know how to like percolate and like kind of age, and then you kind of see, okay, I guess it's solved. There's no big tech coming through, or no. But I mean, that's not even true in these games, because you can always just release a new hero that shakes the meta up too. Or once it does become stale, you're like, all right, well, no one likes this sheep meta, so now we do this, and now there's no more sheep or something like that. This takes one hero out of a busy release schedule.
Cool. Well, I was gonna let you guys dive in if you had anything, any other topics you wanted to dive into next, or
I have a question. So one of the things you guys start the game, right? And one of the things I noticed that haven't been done by many studios for years, okay, it's a lot of the foundation you guys been laying on this game. Like, for example, most games I play with no music on because music's just boring. And you guys actually put a lot of time on music. Also, the lore. You just didn't like throw out there, well, that's store. Figure it out. Like I saw the podcast, like there's a whole, not just the background behind those gods and everything. You guys have a why during the Godforge. Like you're building this whole world for people to feel more immersed. Like when did you guys actually decide to like, okay, we need to focus on music, story, like everything, like not just,
Music, I could tell you that for some reason with Sham and I, it's always been like music has been our all out. We're like, all right, going all in at one thing, music. And I know it's the least important thing is immediately sound off. And it's not even mobile games. A lot of people sound off on like other games, but yeah, I don't know. It's really important to us just personally. So we always go in pretty hard on that. And the dream is that you don't have to turn it off. And a lot of times, I mean, you still get that first impression, right? Like I just started playing some Ethereal Restart. And the music and it's okay, but it's nice to like appreciate the whole experience as a game before you go into like sweaty, just grinding 24/7 in the background mode. And I mean, I think our first impression there is like we're not skipping our music, even though we know you're probably going to turn it off. You're going to get this like orchestrated like masterpiece here, yeah. And so
Oh,
I
but
think our
that's the
music's
thing.
really nice, and
But that's the
it
thing. Most
cutscene.
people turn that off because it's boring nowadays.
Yeah.
What you guys actually put out was like, I was like, wow, I haven't
I hope we don't turn it
heard
off.
that in like a long time ago. Like this type of like music in a game, like actually paying attention on those sides, because it should feel immersed. And music for me, it's the same thing. I like to feel immersed in the games, but most music you just get sick of it. Like
Yeah, well, maybe
they
that's
don't have
why people
much.
turn it off, is because people just have been putting it as an afterthought for so long. So, I mean, enough games put out sweet music, you probably keep it on. Like Final Fantasy is kind of the OG, like a game like these, right? And Final Fantasy, like, the music for every single like song for every single part of every single game. The music was great in those games. So, like, there's no reason why you can't build a turn-based RPG with sweet music. They should have it, right? That's like a staple of the genre that's just been like forgotten. So hopefully ours will be, I don't know. I'd love to be that memorable. Like Aaron was joking, he had a dream the other day that we were all going to like an orchestrated performance of our soundtrack with our music composer up there conducting. But like he says that it's jokingly. It was like, oh, it's a dream. I've been to that though. Like Final Fantasy has those orchestras, and like you can go up there. The guys, it was a fun event. So yeah, I mean, cool. If that ever happened, that'd be a dream for me. But as long as it's enjoyable to people. And then as far as like the story goes, that's another one that's like kind of an afterthought, these games, because like the story delivery is kind of tough. You put in too much and it's just like skip, 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 skip. But man, these cutscenes they're putting together are pretty solid right now. And he's doing the story really well to the point where like moving forward, it's going to probably influence our design of some things, because now we can actually use story elements and not feel like you're going to instantly just want to skip it or hate it. Like, why are they doing this? Like, I don't want it to feel like filler episodes of Naruto. I want you to feel like you're something that's like kind of, hey, yeah, this is fun to watch here. This reason that they're giving me this. So yeah, we'll actually be able to utilize more story than I initially was planned for, when we started this project.
Yeah, I think I could share a little bit of perspective on that too. We're trying to actually build something that stands the test of time and is something we can even expand on with other games. And so we really want to make sure and do a good job with the narrative and the music. Godforge isn't going to be like a cash grab, just try to make some money quick and bounce out. We're trying to actually build something, and the music and the stuff like that can be, we want someone to hear something and be like, that's Godforge. Like we want to evoke that in people. Even if it's something you're gonna turn off when you're grinding, you're still gonna associate, like you're gonna hear that and think Godforge long term. And we're trying to kind of lay that foundation for a long term studio and a long term game.
Even though it's like our own, our IP, we didn't get like a special IP from it. We tried to partner up some other games went on to get IPs like that. And we ended up deciding to go with our own IP, but we're not making our own IP. We're kind of going off the like myths and legends of the world, but we're trying to kind of make it our own IP. And it's been a lot of fun, and kind of going full circle back to Age of Empires. Brad, I know played a ton of Age of Empires. I played a lot of AoE too, obviously. I think a lot of people did if you were gaming back then. But like, it's a lot of fun because a lot of those same units are like in our game. So we get to kind of bring some of that back to here. So it's very fun IP to actually try to make our own. Because in the way that Age of Empires, you're talking about, you put up with some maybe predatory tactics or some scummy decisions they went on because of the IP. And what is the IP? It's just history.
Yeah,
But I don't know,
literally.
if you do a good job making it your own, it's a very fun IP to work with.
Yeah, because that was the thing I was going to ask, because you mentioned, Brad, earlier as well, with you didn't want to make a cash money machine, right? And you don't want to be known as just a cash grab game. And it was like, how do you like associate the fact that we know like a mobile game needs monetization, right? You need some sort of income in, if it's cosmetics or whatever approach you get. But what is the approaches like you didn't want to do, right? Because obviously there's people will complain about too many pop-ups or even like certain aspects of borderline gambling, right? Where hitting the slot machine and just rolling and hoping you get the 7 digits just to get hopefully that one character. So like I was wondering like about that aspect too, the predatory monetization. What are things that you looking at to like try and not fall in the trap that other games have basically done?
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Did you want to go?
Oh, well, I was gonna say, our character. So there's definitely gambly, obviously. That's the nature of gotcha games, and honestly, if you draw it back and it's like too easy to get everything, it's actually not as fun. Like there's an element to like when you get something and you know it's rare, you feel really good when you have it. But when you get something and it's rare, and then you look and it's like, oh, every single person has it, and that's the solution to this content. This is how you do it because this is how the game expects me to do it, and that's why they gave it to you so easily. And it's not as fun. It's way more fun to like, these are my limited tools. This is what I got lucky enough to get, and this is how I beat this content because that's how I had to. So things will be rare, and you won't just get the whole like roster immediately, but rares and like even like rares are really good in our game, and even like uncommons and commons, when you get them like early on when you use them, they look so freaking cool that you don't feel like oh yeah, well, obviously they're not like great as far as in terms of like they're not going to carry you to end game, but at least during the time when you're all okay, oh I have to use this guy because it's all I got, at least he looks freaking sweet. You don't feel like what is this like Nintendo 64 like resolution guy when everyone else is playing with like cardio. You're like, what I mean? So you're never gonna feel like you're getting like the poor kid toys or something. Like everyone else gets the flashy stuff. Everyone gets flashy stuff. Freaking even like a common is just like I was putting some effects yesterday for Sphinx, who is our like our equivalent of a void legendary, an eternal legendary. And some of the effects on like Medjay, a common, were like cooler. I was like, what is this like sandstorm that Medjay gets here? Like, this is insane. I'm just like, I'm just gonna spruce up Sphinx of it here. So yeah, you're not getting skimped on. We've gone like way above and beyond on our low rarity stuff. So at any point in any amount of spending you do in our game, you should at least feel like you're getting the Godforge experience. You don't have to like spend a buttload of money, to feel like, oh, I got the cool looking stuff. Like you'll look cool, you'll feel cool early on.
Yeah, because I think that's the one thing everyone, if you've played mobile games, always worried about, right? Where you can be putting money into a game and it doesn't feel like you're investing into the game because you like love the game. It's more like it becomes this thing where you have to invest, otherwise you're not competitive, you're not playing, you're not really even part of the game anymore because people are just so quickly overtaking you. It's unreal. So I like to hear what I'm hearing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I think that the rares are fairly competitive at the moment because rares they have like everything like as characters escalate up in rarity, they'll kind of gain different abilities. And ultimately they'll get like your basic, your core, your ultimate, you get a passive. And from rare and up, they all have all of that. So you're not going in like with like a gimped kit. You're going with a rare. Some of our rares actually do a lot of stuff. It's like that might even get dialed back a bit just because of we don't want them like confusing almost for new players. But like yeah, like your rares aren't gonna suck. Like some of them are freaking monsters. Like
I love how he's trying to filter himself so hard, and
Yeah,
we're here like,
like,
come on, just leak it.
There's some good ones. Yeah, I've snuck a few really good rares and they were like deceptively good.
Dirk likes to do these midnight ninja buffs. You sneak them in there.
I snuck in the Dagonet one.
Yeah, and
snuck in a visual change of Dagonet too. He looks so cool now.
it's a great call out, Dirk, because yeah, we have put a lot more effort into our lesser rarity heroes than I feel like most games on the market. And if you look back to something like Raid, like Apothecary was a good rare because he placed a speed up. Like that would be a trash rare in our game, probably. Like, so like I think out the gate we're gonna have a lot more capabilities down the ranks of like the commons and uncommons and rares for sure. And then just on your point of like things we want to avoid, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of like the game is free and we have a certain standard we want to meet, which costs a lot of money, and a big team. So the game obviously has to make money. We're not gonna lie about that. But something we would want to avoid is like, we want a free to play player to be able to complete the content. We wouldn't want to do something like, oh, you need a certain debuff for this boss, and it's just not available unless you do this fusion, and you literally can't finish it unless you spend. We want to avoid like something like that. Where you're just like blatantly forcing someone to spend in order to complete content. So that would be kind of an example of something we wouldn't want to do.
And like egregious pop-ups, like pretty sure we have no plans for that right now. Unless we get hijacked by one of those publishers or something like that. But we don't have a horse yet, but like, let's say things changed. We'll fight it tooth and nail, because the worst, especially if you don't play like Raid or something and you go back to it after a while, the amount of stuff just from like between
it's literally like a flashbang. It's a flashbang.
But I don't even get how analytically that pays dividends, because they do that, I don't even read. I'm just spamming X. Like if a pop-up was more rare, I might actually notice it and be like, oh, what's that? But because they spam you with 20 when you log in, I'm just spamming X. I'm not even looking.
You're not even like opposed to whaling. It's just like too much to take in it at a time. Sometimes you're like, I don't even know what's the good deals here. Stop. Like, just let me go through this. Yeah.
There must be something to it, though. I mean, it's been 6 years. They must have some analytic that says it makes sense, but I just don't get it personally, anecdotally, because I've never even read one of them, because I'm just so used to, I'm muscle memoried and on spamming X.
Yeah, but they're almost like a meme in everywhere. It's like something that everyone knows about that game. Like, oh, you're gonna get bombed by the pop-ups. And it's like almost funny to talk about it. But I think because of that, they like get away with it. But I think if like as a new company we tried doing it, they'd be like, come on, you two. So I feel like they hit the jackpot on that. Good for them. We don't get to do that though. So
I actually have a theory why they do it. It's because every time I'm playing on my actual phone and no pop-ups coming up, I go to actually click on some pop-up come up. I end up hitting the buy, and luckily I don't have one-click buy, so it stops me on the way.
they're using the camera to watch your finger come in to pop it up. Like
they try to snipe you with
pop-ups. I had it back in the day when I was a content creator for Raid. I had an April Fool's video where I said I got a job at Plarium, and I was tasked with coming up with the most toxic monetization features. And so I had things like advising Plarium to put the arena reset button next to the gem refill, so that every time you tried and you missed by 2 pixels and you spend your gems, like, damn it. And now
that's horrible. That is psychopathic behavior there.
Yeah. We will try to avoid stuff like that.
That's their UI design, is just how to trick you into.
See, and that's the advantage of a team like Fateless, is of being creators and gamers, is we know kind of how to relate to people. We know what's a pain and what's fun and what isn't fun.
We know we hate after the
we know what we hate, exactly.
Experience. Although something has been tough, man. I'm excited for this alpha too, because I want a chance to just play the game a bit. One of the big complaints I always have about like some games you play, and you're like, did they even play their own game here? Like, I feel like they would catch this in like 2 seconds. Like, there's no way this was their vision. You know what I mean? There's a lot of that. In any game you play, you always think, did they actually play this? And like, I'm guilty of that myself right now. I'm just so busy trying to get guys in. The only like playing I've done is just testing. We can make sure it works the way I imagined. But to actually sit there and be like, oh man, this is pretty sweet. I'm grinding here. Like, haven't had a chance to do that. So this alpha, get ready.
Oh yeah. Well, our game designers will definitely be playing the alpha for sure. I agree with Dirk. I think if you're gonna work as a game designer on a game, you should be able to play it at a high level. That's just my hot take. I think you should be able to play your own game.
Like, yeah, good. Like, because that's the thing too, is then otherwise you start caving into like we're talking about the balance stuff again. That's when they don't play their own game. That's where they don't let metas ever settle, and they just like, well, this is. This is the squeaky wheel, so this is what gets the grease. And it's like, no. There's actually a meta. This hard counters this already. You just have to, look it up. And it's like, if they would have given it another, 2 months even, just of like, obviously not everyone's looking up the latest meta, but like it trickles down. Like you'll see people doing it and be like, man, this strategy is really working good. This cheese I was doing before no longer works. And it'll catch on. And like they just don't let it catch on because they don't play their own game, and they just listening to community feedback. And community feedback is sometimes deceptive because um people get emotional when they lose, and like you're immediately calling for nerfs or something. It's like, well, does it really need a nerf? Like if you were playing that, would you want? Have you even tried playing that? Like, you know what I mean? It's
That
like, don't just call it
resonates
something
so
to get
much.
ruined when you literally never even tried it. You don't even know the actual beating.
That happens all the time in the Age of
Mhm.
Empires 4 community. Like, oh, I lost to this civ. That means that civ is broken. So, for me personally, whenever I'm losing to a civ and I want to see what beats it, I just start playing them, and then
try.
and then I get
you'll
crushed,
lose.
and then I get crushed, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's how you beat it.
Yeah. And some people don't even like approach it that way on the other side first, and you'll see these massive like sweeping changes go through, and it's like, oh, that was unnecessary. And now that actually ruins the meta in this other way because now you nerfed that was keeping this other thing in check, and this other thing is way more toxic, and now this is gonna be and yeah, you can't just willy nilly be changing stuff like that. So yeah, we'll be in there. We'll be in there playing too.
Cool.
I can't wait.
I know we're kind of approaching the wrap up time, but was there any burning questions or topics that we didn't get to you guys have before we kind of get to our final question?
Nah, I got it, man.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, this has been a lot of fun. And Broken, I know it's your first time on the channel here. So one thing we'd like to ask is, do you have a certain myth or legend or hero that you think would be super badass if it was in Godforge? Like something you want to shout out as your personal favorite?
Whoa, that would be hard because I think in general, I always loved mythology. Like that was the best subject for me in school. So, and by what I could see that the guys already made, I think you covered pretty much 99% of them.
Okay,
So,
cool. That's fine. Sneaky, you want to remind people what you said when we asked you that? Do you remember?
Well, I don't even remember, but last time, well, compared to last time to now, I've been thinking obviously more about him and stuff like that. And one thing I honestly would love to see is like you guys just take almost tales and really throw them on their head. So like the Pied Piper and stuff, like who plays his pipe and all the kids follow it, like mice and all stuff. Like I'd love to see something really almost like wrong in every way, like version of those, like these gothic horror versions of them. And like you got the boogeyman. Like I'd love to see some sort of like boogeyman almost version, like myth come to life in the game, because everyone hates the boogeyman, let's be real. Like everyone hates the boogeyman.
I think I'll look into that.
Baba Yaga.
Yeah,
Baba
yeah,
Yaga.
yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Baba Yaga. Wait, is that leaked yet or no? Can we?
What's leaked? And I don't, what are you talking about, Dirk?
All right.
Well, anyway, I think if you're looking for the boogeyman type theme, I think there'll be something in Godforge for you.
Some of those old fairy tales. We have a couple that have come from like the Slavic ones. There's been a few fairy tales, like Maria Morevna is like a one from there that has a character, but some other ones would be cool. I'd love to get like a Rumpelstiltskin in the game. I
Yeah.
think they're a funny character, and yeah, you can do them really like a dark version of them. It would fit. Yeah, that would definitely fit.
But to answer your question, Baba Yaga has been leaked, so Baba Yaga will be in Godforge.
Did we upgrade her rarity? There's been a few we've had to upgrade rarity on now because like they just turned out too cool.
It's already been leaked that Baba Yaga's legendary. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. She started as an epic and it was like, no, this is too cool. She's going up to legendary. That's kind of like Pandora started as a rare, and then by the end of it, we're like, well, this looks ridiculous. This is way too much for a rare. So that was an epic. Because it's like the spectacle that goes on when she's just doing like anything is just like, well, how could this be a rare?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of fun ones with that leak. Well, hey guys, this has been a blast. So thanks for joining us, and we're gonna have the links down below to check out their content as well over on that end, and then also we'll have the links to Discord if you want to pop in, share your input on Godforge. We're always down to listen to as much feedback as possible. So, Dirk, Broken, Sneaky, thanks. This has been a lot of fun, and we'll see you soon in the next Fateless podcast episode. Cheers.